I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today, and this is Capitol Download. We're joined by Amy Klobuchar, the Democratic Senator from Minnesota. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks, Susan. It's great to be on again.
You have a new book out. It's called The Senator Next Door, a memoir from the heartland. For you, it hasn't all been smooth going. You had to deal with a father who struggled with alcoholism, your parents divorced, your daughter was born with a serious and perplexing medical problem. And in the epilogue, you quote a Slovenian writer as saying, "The obstacles are the path." What does that mean?
Well, for me, it is all about everyone has problems that they confront in their life. And the question is, what do you do with it? Do you just give in, or do you try to move on and learn something from it? And when I wrote this book and look back at my life, I realized that all these things that happened, from my dad growing up in a hardscrabble mining town and how that actually helped him to be a better journalist, or my mom struggling, her parents during the Depression, that made her a better teacher and it made her want to pursue that career. And in my case, it has meant that with what happened to my daughter, and it gave me a whole new understanding of parents of kids with disabilities. It made me understand that you could actually get something done through politics, because the first time I got involved was the 48-hour hospital stay for new moms and their babies. I went to the legislature, and it just made me realize that I could go from being a pie cutter at what was then Poppin' Fresh Pies and a car hop at A&W to being a U.S. Senator.
When you think about Washington and the way it's often dysfunctional, it seems like there are a lot of obstacles in the path for Washington. Are there lessons, do you think, from your experience for how Washington could work better?
Yes, I think the first thing that I've learned is that there are people that want to get things done. I have a section called Republicans I Have Loved to work with. The women senators are incredible. We have friendships across the aisle. I go to the prayer breakfast, and while we don't talk about legislation there, 25 senators are often there. Both parties, about 80 of the senators speak over 2 years, and you really get a sense of people's lives. So there are those places where you can learn about each other and actually start to be friends. And when you have that kind of trust, you can get compromise, and then you can get things done.
What about the budget? We know there's going to be a budget showdown with the end of the fiscal year. Do you think there is going to be a government shutdown as a result?
Well, I truly hope not. We have learned what happened when some extremists in the other party, in the Republican Party, did that last time. Eventually, a group of 14 of us, led by Susan Collins, I was the first Democrat to sign up, half of us women, came up with some ideas and brought them to our leadership and said, if you don't come out with these, we have the press gallery reserved. And literally a few hours later, we had an agreement. So we got out of that last one, but it cost our economy billions of dollars. So we don't want to see that again. And I'm very hopeful we'll reach some agreement. I will say that I believe we need to stand our ground when it comes to protecting everything from student loans, which are very expensive for our students already, to our Social Security and health care for the people of this country. As we know, there's a major gap right now with between those who have and have not, and we don't want to make it worse by how we do the budget. We want to make things easier for the middle class.
And would you also insist on protecting funding for Planned Parenthood?
Well, I think we will be considering that and will be considering it. And of course, I think that when you have 1 in 5 women in America having used Planned Parenthood, whether it is for cancer screenings or for mammograms or for their primary care or contraception and birth control, I think we want to make sure that we don't just take that funding away. 5
sitting senators are running for president. Does that have an effect?
Yes, especially when they are making, claims on TV and they're kind of using hearings to show their stuff. I think it has led to some more extremism and statements that make things seem less civil. But I think there's still 95 other people who aren't running for president who are actually trying to do their jobs.
You were elected in 2006 in the same class as Bernie Sanders, Democratic Socialist from Vermont, 73 years old now. Did you instantly peg him as a presidential prospect?
I can't say that I did, but what I did realize about Bernie is that what he talks about is heartfelt. He understands grassroots politics. I am a strong supporter of Secretary Clinton, and I think she's also running an incredibly strong grassroots campaign. But I think the fact that Bernie is in the race and talking about economic issues that are so important to regular people is really important. And Secretary Clinton has said herself, this was never going to be a coronation. And the fact that we have a vibrant race, yet we're not seeing it trumped, we're not seeing that kind of hatred toward other candidates and that kind of vilification and putting out people's cell phones and telling them they're not heroes when they were POWs. We're not seeing that on the Democratic side. I think we're seeing a discussion of issues that's heartfelt and important.
Most underestimated senator?
Oh, that I don't know, because I don't know who's considered underestimated. I would say that as a group, sometimes people underestimate the women senators. And maybe not the ones you've most heard of, like Barbara Mikulski or Dianne Feinstein, but as a group, some of the younger ones of us that have come in later, they always are thinking, well, does she really know what she's doing? Could she really? I just love that, because we can always prove them wrong.
Most overestimated senator?
No, I'm not going there. Let's just say that one of the lines that people tell you, which turns out to be true, is when you get to Washington, the first few months you turn around, look around, and you see all these amazing people that were on the news when you're growing up, and you think to yourself, how did I get here? And then after you're there about a year, many people say you start saying, how did they get here? I think you sometimes have people that go and they sprout a lot of rhetoric and then don't always get things done. But I think overall, what I have learned being there, especially in the Senate, is that there's a lot of earnest people that are willing to, here and there, take that moment of courage, work across the aisle, and make a compromise and get things done.
Senator Amy Klobuchar, thanks for joining us on Capitol Download.
Great to be on.